She was in space all those years. I mean,
right, yeah, it was all the weightlessness, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Miss Carey, so tell us about Tinkerbell.
Well, I want to get rid of one other myth that's been going around. It is not true that he got off the show with Lassie when his mustache was growing. You just wipe that out of your minds right away.
Okay.
And what do you want from me?
Tinkerbell, you know, we started saying that we wanted to dispel that myth that Marilyn Monroe was the inspiration or the model for it.
What happened evidently was years ago when Peter Pan came out and Tinkerbell was a big hit, somebody on radio said, well, she's as curvy as Marilyn Monroe.
Right.
And somebody picked that up and wrote it in a story, and it's a great story. Anything about Marilyn is a great story. So I'm going along, minding my own business, doing voiceover for Clutch Cargo and the New Three Stooges. And,
we want to talk about that.
And all the rest, and I'm paying no attention to it. Well, my kids get a game of trivia. And one of the questions is, who was the model for Tinkerbell? And they turned the card over and said Marilyn Monroe. And they said, that's enough. So they called up Dave Smith over at Archives at Disney and said, would you please let everybody know that it wasn't Marilyn Monroe? Now, Marilyn could not have done what I did for Tinkerbell for the simple reason that she was, at that time of her life, not a dancer. And you really, really, really had to be a dancer to do the pantomime and the work that I did. By the way, the work that I did means that I stood on a Bears soundstage with Mark Davis, the designer of Tinkerbell, and one of the 901 animators, and he would tell me what he wanted her to do, and there was a camera crew and lights and all the rest, and I would stand out there and ponder, because I didn't know ahead of time, and think about how she would do it and what she would do it, and we'd hit the marks. And so I would do it, and they would say, fine, let's go for another just for protection, and that's how I became Two-Take Tink. And silly me, you know, if I'd messed up, I'd still be working for them. But they then took that film and gave it to the animators, who then drew all of her antics from the work that I did. And that's why I can say that she is my alter ego and vice versa. And when you come to the table and take a look at the pictures, you will see that Tinkerbell really looks like me. And as we all understand that, we get along just fine. Oh, there are important things. But I did work with Marilyn. I have a picture of her at the table. We were doing a bathing suit layout. First time I ever met her. And she was absolutely adorable. She was just a starlet at Fox at the time. And she came in, and all 7 of us girls, we just wanted to help her. She was just absolutely darling. And when you see the picture that I had film in my camera, I mean, that, you don't understand, that was astounding. I had film in my camera, and I said to her, can I take your picture? And she said, only if I could take a picture of you. So I've had an unpublished picture of Marilyn for a long time, and she just, and when you look at the picture, I want you to understand also that we are in 2-piece bathing suits. You're not astounded.
Wait a minute.
Believe me, at that time, you wore cover-ups and a 2-piece, the magazine that did the layout got letters about it. So, honeys, I'm a little bit old, so you can ask me just about anything, because I'm so wise.
Now, you were with, we talked about child actors before, you were with the archetypal child actor series, which was the R Gang, later known as the Little Rascals, under the name Peggy Lynch.
That's right.
Not to be confused with Peg Lynch, who did Ethel and Albert on the radio, but can you tell us about some of those days?
You know, you're good. How did you get all this information?
I don't know. I don't want to know.
Well, basically, and it's in my book, that it's called Tinkerbell Talks when it comes out. Did I get that in?
Yes.
That was smooth, right? I was minding my own business, and unfortunately there was a death in my family, and suddenly I was living with another couple. I was adopted when I was 3 1/2, and I caused the Depression. You don't, I was born in 1929 and everything went right downhill from there. So I'm with these folks, and they decide that I'm cute as a button, and I seem to have talent, and I can sure talk. I mean, if nothing else. And they started to train me and put me in motion pictures, so I think the first thing that I did was Midsummer Night's Dream for Warner Brothers. I was about 4 years old. I was one of the little fairies. I think there's a theme happening here. And then Our Gang Comedies. And Our Gang Comedies was very, very odd. I remember working at the Roach studio with a bunch of kids, not knowing really what was going on, because they never told you anything. Not anything. They would say, as a matter of fact, in my book, the title of working with the Our Gang says, Our Gang and Little Rascals, what is my motivation? Because they would say, run over there and laugh. And you go, okay. And over you would go, and you would get $8.50 a day for doing that.
Wow.
And so to this day, I really don't travel unless I have some business at the I was taught this money thing, which is okay. But I think one of the interesting things, probably unlike your experience, none of us talked to each other. The children we knew better than to talk, because each one of us was a competitor to the other. And one might slip up and say, I have an interview tomorrow. Then you would run and tell your mother, and the mother would find out where the interview was, and suddenly you were a competitor. And the mothers didn't talk much, because something might slip. And so it was quite lonely. You never got to really know anybody. And I thought the most wonderful thing would be if I ever got big enough to have a script of the whole movie, to know what it was, because they never told us. And the last show that I did started, I don't know, in 1933, I guess, 33 or 4. And the last one I did, I think, was 1936. I'm not sure, I don't remember, kind of thing. But I went up to the director and I asked him, I said, when are you ever going to finish this film? And he looked at me and said, what are you talking? I did not know that it was a short. To me, it was this movie that just kept going on and on. Because they never told us anything. They wanted to hire kids who were 4 to 6 years old, who were going on 32, and could take direction and then shut up and go sit down. And it was not the happiest of times, nor was it the unhappiest of times. It was just bizarre.
Now, how many actors could say you work with both the Little Rascals and the Three Stooges? Maybe James C. Morgan, the actor who always getting his toupee, But you will work with the Three Stooges when they, towards the end of their careers,
yes,
in the cartoon series.
And I'm all right.
Well, they were kind of gentler Stooges by then. They were gearing the shows towards kids, and they were a little less with the eye poking and the pie fights and the like. And you did
But they didn't want to come up with anything new. Eddie Burns was the director, and he had directed them for so many years. And what they had, we have bookends. You had a live opening and a live closing, and then in between you had this animated show. And the whole thing, I think, took about 5 minutes or something. Very short. But that was the way that you did kids' shows at that time. And I did 279 of them, and as I say, I'm okay. Lovely story, how they really functioned. That was with Joe DeRita. He was the last one, who had a chip on his shoulder morning, night, and noon. I mean, it was just amazing. Mo Howard kept them in line, and Larry Fine would go around with anything. He was just darling. But the two people who really ran the Three Stooges were the two wives. They were just marvelous. They would come in, sit down with their knitting or whatever, and start talking to each other as if they hadn't seen each other in 6 months. And they would talk all day long, but they would keep an eye on what was going on. And if they were running out of time, they'd call over, Mo, it's getting late. Oh, yes, dear. And then everything would come together and get organized again. But we were standing in front of the microphone. You start out with animation. You start out doing the voice track first. Everything is locked to the voice track. Timing, everything. So you